And welcome back. The New York City Mission Society has been on the front lines of the war on poverty for more than 2 centuries. They provide support for children, youth, and adults who live in New York City's most underserved communities. They weave together academic enrichment, career readiness, and also college access programs to create transformational educational experiences for low-income communities throughout New York. The organization has also provided life-changing opportunities to over 6.5 million New Yorkers. Here now to share with us a little bit more is the president of the Mission Society of New York City, Elsie McCabe Thompson. And Elsie, glad to have you.
It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you. And we're glad to have you sharing with us as well. Tell us a little bit about your organization, because it does some great work, particularly in the area of educational achievement.
Well, it's something that we feel passionately about. Mm-hmm. One of the, part of our special sauce, if you will, is all of us, virtually 90% of our staff comes from the communities we serve. So you hear people talk about authenticity in education. We bring authenticity because we've been where our students are. And I don't mind sharing my personal stories of how, I failed trigonometry in high school. I went to school in the 60s and 70s. And back then they didn't have IEPs. If you were a brown kid, black or brown, you were considered a behavioral problem rather than, you had a learning difference. So I was considered, a serious behavioral problem because I'm dyslexic, I'm dysgraphic, my husband will tell you, I'm acutely ADHD. And it takes a lot for me to sit still. And I know,
just a moment.
But for the intervention of my mother and a couple teachers who really believed in me, I could have been any one of our students. Falling behind in school, not getting it, and thinking I didn't deserve, that I wasn't capable of, doing good or great things. But we try and demystify success by sharing our own stories. And because everybody, including people like Clarence Thomas, since we're focusing on Supreme Courts these days, everybody needs somebody. Everybody needs a village.
Right.
I mean, no matter what you are, rich, poor, black, white, it doesn't matter, because nobody can do everything alone.
Mm-hmm. And so, the thing for you, and I'm not to cut in, but the thing for you is that in your own kind of way, you are being a bridge, because what you're doing is you're closing that educational achievement gap. And I think that's what you speak to, right? So many people won't admit that there is this educational achievement gap. There's a denial, if you will. But the reality is the statistics do not lie. There's a huge educational achievement gap, particularly for those in people of color. So give me a little bit about the Power Academy and some of what you're doing in terms of trying to close that educational achievement gap.
We try and do some of the things that aren't done in schools. So we try and do, pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, we try and offer the experiences that kids don't get. So group learning, in small teams, because the only time you see teams in K-8 schools are on the playing field. But to teach kids how to work with each other, not to devolve into ad hominem attacks, and to think like scientists. So we've come up with, we call them innovation stations, for instance. We'll do things like have a group of 4 kids and say over the course of an after-school program, 1 hour, 2 or 3 hours a week, you have to come up with a solution to an engineering and science challenge. I want you to find a creative way of building a table using only Scotch tape and a ream of paper. And as soon as kids learn that they're not going to be tested, they're not going to be judged because they didn't come up with the right answer. We tell them there are, incalculable numbers of right answers to this problem. Find one that you like. And I've seen kids do really interesting, unorthodox things. I've seen kids ask, well, if I crush paper, could that become a leg? And, discussions about, well, what is a leg? What is a table? What is it that, creates the essence of tableness? And, working with each other, bouncing ideas off one another, because that's what scientists do. And scientists are smart enough to celebrate their mistakes because they learn from them. Because if you don't, make mistakes, you can't learn. And we offer experiential learning, for kids to be able to do things that are genuinely creative. And it's in an atmosphere, in an environment where they know they're not going to be shamed or judged. Because so many times in school, they are told, no, that's wrong. And they're made to feel as though there's something wrong with you because you got the wrong answer.
And Elsie, give me about the students, if you will, because I didn't want to cut you, but I wanted to ask about the students, because when we're talking about students that you're talking about, they have these experiences. You do a lot of work with students from K through 8, correct? And then also high schools, right?
And high school students, but over age and undercredited high school students. Students who disconnected either formally or informally from school and didn't attend many of their classes, maybe have dropped out from school formally. And we get them back in and help them get a full Regents diploma. Because the difference between having a Regents, having a high school diploma and not can be lifetime earnings of $1 million.
Wow. And that's a lot.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole lot. That's a whole lot.
So how have you been able to make the adjustment, given the fact that COVID-19 is really still impacting city schools? How have you been making the adjustments?
Oh, God. Well, we, because we had already set up systems to become virtual for many of our staff, doing things online, being able to hire and onboard new staff members virtually, because we had all of that systems already online. And then we started doing things like we built up a community library that's available on our website so that you can digitally, if you aren't able to access some of our lesson plans or activities for parents or kids, then you can go online. And we've tried to adapt as the needs of our children, our students and families adapted, and as their needs change. So, during the pandemic, we, because we know our families, we know our kids, and we saw them hurting, really hurting, because, one or more family members had lost jobs. Remember during the beginning of the pandemic, you couldn't buy diapers, you couldn't get toilet paper. So we started soliciting and providing our own funds and have given over $82,000 in direct cash assistance or material assistance. Things like, diapers, because some of our teenage, some of our high school students are parents themselves. And, they needed the jobs that we gave them, during our high school paid internship program. to be able to support their families. And we turn those paid internships into virtual internships. No mean feat, but because we know, little bits of money are the difference between, subsistence and less than subsistence living.
So give me where, as far as students can go in terms of reading, because we know that reading is a big challenge. Literacy is a big challenge. Where can students go in this space post COVID-19 as you're looking to really close that achievement gap? Because we've got that virtual learning system, and a lot of students definitely don't do well virtually, and particularly in the area of reading. How do you see things playing out, and how do you look to offer to bridge that gap?
Well, one of the things we should do as a society is we should change expectations. Yes, the way our current expectations, the DOE is set up, if you don't read proficiently by the time you're in third grade, then you start falling behind, because they have a schedule, because you have to be able to read this well by this age to be able to read the materials that you're given. Why is that? We now know as a community, as a society, that kids don't become cognitively fully adults until they're 24 or 25. So why are we shaming kids at third grade because they're not reading as well? But if they're reading by fourth grade, what does it matter? Because we've got this, aggressive ladder, that we expect kids to be able to climb up rung by rung at a certain pace. And the pace is based on, what a middle class kid who has, the plethora of after school activities and other supports. They've got parents who not only speak English fluently, but can read proficiently. And they're introduced to 1 million extra vocabulary words by the time they're in 5th grade. And that kid is judged against, the kid whose parents may not speak English that well, may not be able to read in any one language. So their native language, whatever that might be, they may not be able to read in that language. And then we expect that child to be able to perform as well as a middle-class kid with all of the benefits that education offers, and at the same pace. And that's not fair. It's not right.
Yeah. So before we leave, I want you to give you an opportunity to really share with our viewers how people can get connected to the work that you're doing, and if they wanted more information.
Well, feel free to donate. Feel free to volunteer. Missionsociety.org. We are amazing. We're an amazing organization. And the other part of our special sauce is not only do we not judge kids, or we authentically like our kids, but we believe in them. We know that they're capable because we know that we have become capable and we're just like them. So connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. I don't know all the other social media.
I got it. I think I got it at the end. Yeah. So I'll give it as we close out the segment. But
Thank you.
I got you. I have your back. Elsie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. No problem. Elsie McCabe Thompson, our guest here on Open. Thank her so much for being with us. And as we said, now, if you want more information, all you've got to do is follow them at the website. And the website is missionsociety.org. Also follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Mission Society NYC. Don't go anywhere. We still have more Open coming up. We'll be with you right after this.